Notice to the public, if you wish to address the council, please complete the public wishing to address the council form located on either end of the counter and give it to either the chairperson or the council clerk prior to the beginning of the meeting. Individuals addressing the council should be respectful of others in their choice of words and actions. All cell phones, pagers, and electronic devices used for communication should be silenced for the duration of this meeting. I would like to call this meeting to order. Please rise for an invocation by Councilperson Abear, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilperson Clayton Voisin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Heavenly Father, as the chosen leaders of Terrebonne Parish government, we ask your divine guidance to enable us to protect and serve our citizens with righteousness, justice, and mercy. Grant that we may lead with honesty and integrity, always seeking the well-being of all people. Amen. To the flag of the United States of America, republic for which it stands, one nation.
Thank you, guys. Roll call, please, Ms. Chauvin.
Mr. Abear, Ms. Cavalier, Mr. Pizzolotta, Mr. Kevin Voisin, Mr. Clayton Voisin, Mr. Seahan, Mr. Lambert, Mr. Tillman, Ms. Williams.
Here.
You have a quorum, ma'am.
Thank you. Just a letter from Councilperson Cavalier. Due to a long-standing family commitment, I will be unable to attend this evening's regular council meeting. I have reviewed all the agenda items on the agenda and will contact the council clerk's office to follow up on any aspects of proceedings directly affecting Council District 4. My apologies for any inconvenience this unavoidable absence may be to anyone. Mr. Pete Lambert.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. 2 years ago, the crew from Keesler Air Force Base was deployed to the desert, and I had picked up some of the little pins we wear, and I distributed them, and I gave them to them when they were leaving. And this Father's Day, they sent me something in return as a payback, but it's a little bit too big for me. So what I decided to do was to put it up in this council room for all the veterans that served. And right now, I'll kind of read it to you, okay? This is to certify that the accompanying U.S. flag was flown on a C-130J Hercules, 2nd of May 2008, call sign Glide 50, in support of Iraqi freedom. And less than 48 hours later, on 5 May 2008, as call sign TARC 20, in support of Operation Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan, in honor of Peter G. Lambert. And at the bottom it says, "We will not waver, we will not tire, we will not falter, and we will not fail. Peace and freedom will prevail." And this flag was flown within 48 hours. I'm gonna present it to and this is for all the moms and dads, the brothers and sisters, the grandpas, the grandmas, the next door neighbors of all the veterans that served in these two wars. It's just something for them. It's bigger than us. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lambert. Approve minutes of the regular council session held on 5/27/09. Moved by Mr. Tillman, second by Mr. Kevin Voisin. Seeing no lights, all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Approve minutes of special council session held on 6/2/09. Moved by Mr. Tillman, second by Mr. Kevin. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Distribute minutes of regular council session held 6/10/09. Distribute minutes of special council session condemnations held on 6/23/09. Approve accounts payable list dated June 24th, 09. Moved by Mr. Tillman, second by Mr. Kevin. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 1, general business. A, resolution approving an election within Fire Protection District Number 7 of the Parish of Terrebonne, State of Louisiana, on October 17, 2009, to authorize the levy of a 10-year, 16.15 mills property tax therein, and providing for other matters relative to. Mr. Lambert.
Yes, sir. Mr. Labat, this is the renewal, correct?
Ms. Alfred and I were talking about that. Are you, I can't.
I don't see the word renewal in
I
there.
didn't see the word renewal in the proposition. I thought at first it was, but normally Mr. Osborne's office will say renewal, and I do not see it in here.
It's, it's nobody from, Fire District Number 7 in here. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Mr. Clayton Voisin.
Yes, to Mr. Labat, if I may, Madam
Mr.
Chair.
Labat.
Mr. Labat, do you know anything else on the October 17th ballot?
It'll probably be a runoff of this senatorial district,
Okay.
senatorial seat.
Do you know if 2 weeks would impose any problems?
That's what I'm trying to figure. They really gave it to the bond attorney's office at the last minute. So I'm not sure if the 2-week period would affect it, but it's gonna be very close if not.
Because without the verbiage renewal, I'm hesitant. If I may go
Yes,
to Ms. Alford?
Alford.
We could take a break. I can go back there and just make a couple of phone calls and come right back and find out.
Can we hold this item, Madam
Yes,
Chair,
right.
and bring it back later? Do we need a motion to do that, Mr.?
I think the chair could just decide to hold it off for,
Yeah.
That would
until
be
later
great.
in the meeting. And-
If the
Okay,
chair
we'll
would be
hold
so
it
kind.
until we get a Mr. Levron.
Yes, ma'am. We just got Marty Thibodeau on the phone from the Shreveport Fire Chief, called the Ward 7 Fire Chief. He indicates it's a renewal.
It is a renewal.
I'll move that we go ahead and put this on the ballot.
Okay,
Miss,
Mr. Voisin, you still your light?
Yeah, to the parish attorney, if I may.
Sure, Ms. Alcott.
Adding the verbiage to this at this time, would that be a substantial change, ma'am?
Well, it's just a
Being it's
resolution,
understood
so
that
you
it
can go
probably is a
ahead and-
renewal?
You can read that into it. I don't think that's an issue.
If Mr. Lambert would include that it is a renewal, I'd certainly second his motion for him if there's not a second yet.
Mr. Lambert.
Yes, ma'am. I'd like to add the word renewal on there.
Okay,
The
motion by
10-year.
Mr. Lambert, second by Mr. Clayton Voisin. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 2, public wishing to address the council. A, presentation by Ms. Sheila McCarthy, RA, Project Manager for the Corps of Engineers on the non-federal levy project in Grand Caillou community. Ms. McCarthy.
Good evening. I'm Sheila McCarthy from the St. Louis District. Wanted to present our monthly update to you. We were here a month ago. This is the June update. Would like to let you know that the north contract is done, 100%. It's been seeded, turf, fertilized. Now we just actually need rain. So to get the grass growing, get the turf established. They have completely demowed all of their equipment. The last dozer was moved off today. The project trailers on the north contract are both gone that were located next to Sarah's Quick Stop. They're both gone. There are no issues out there. We did the red zone inspection, which is basically a 95% inspection, did the punch list, and they're done. The alligators are happy because we saw a really big one out there today. So it's ready to go, and now we're just dealing with the south contract now. So Next, please. This is a slide that we put together of the two contracts of the North Reach, where it shows that the entire North Reach is now at plus 8 feet, and finished height is 8 feet. So, and then I'll have the same one, different colors for the South contract. South contract, they are at approximately 92% complete as of Monday. They are now down to roughly 50,000 cubic yard overrun instead of the 100,000 that they were expecting. The south end of the levee, they have found that it's a little bit not as mushy, I guess, as deep as mush as that they were finding. They're finding hard pan quicker. So we're down from 100,000 to about 50,000 cubic yard overrun, which is a good thing. Quick update on where we are on our levee heights. Roughly 11,000 lineal feet. We are at, or 10,000 lineal feet. We are at least plus 7 in height, and then the rest is anywhere between base height and plus 6 feet in elevation. We have held the contractor to an aggressive schedule with the remaining section of this levee. Best case scenario, if we have perfect weather, no rain, they should be done the 15th of July. Now, on that being said, we actually do need rain because the levee material is getting too dry and it won't pass compaction tests. So anyway, best case scenario, 15 July done. Worst case, if we potentially get rain, will be the 31st of July. Next slide, please. This is where we are in our heights. You can see the different heights of the levee reach, where the north end of that contract down by the Bonvalon property is at plus 8. It's seeded, it's turfed, and grass is growing. And then as you go farther south down towards Orange Street, the height of the levee drops down to the very end where the red section is, where they are establishing base, which is basically at water height for Lake Boudreaux. Thank you. This presentation we gave to our colonel last week, so we have a little bit of different information in there, and that he also passed on to the New Orleans District Commander, Colonel Lee. We wanted to let our colonels know how we push the South contractor to meet their schedule. And we started actually back in March on pushing the schedule, where they went from 5 days, 10-hour days, to 7 days, 12-hour days, and then 18-hour days at the borrow pit for processing. So we've continuously watched their progress. We've watched what they've done. We've tried to figure out responses to being able to push them as hard as we can. As they move farther south to the south end of that reach, they are going to, in essence, I wouldn't say slow production, but it's going to be squeezed into a much narrower spot because you're only going to have one in and out access route going in on Orange Street and out on Seafood Lane. The two pictures on the right were taken last Wednesday, a week ago, on how they were degrading the existing levee. The top picture would be the left side of that picture, where they're degrading the existing levee and they're moving it to the right to start establishing base and building the first layers of lift on the new levee. It's too soft right now for them to run any trucks, the big dump trucks from the borrow pit. And also what they're doing as they're degrading the old levee and moving it, they're determining how much material they are actually going to need from the borrow. They don't want to overrun material and have to turn around and haul it back. So this is giving them a really good idea for cut and fill, cutting, replacing, compacting, how much down to the cubic yard on really what they need at the very end of the project. We should see a lot more trucks starting to run, what's today, Wednesday, tomorrow, Friday, as the compaction of the existing levee starts to get more durable. It can handle those big pickup, the big dump trucks, because it is still so soft. We haven't had enough compaction on it yet with the big dozers to really be able to support the big trucks, because they're going to sink. So we're still running dozers and excavators and things like that. Next slide. This is where we are going with the last of the project. We still have the wetlands mitigation to do, which will follow on this. We're hoping to award that contract by mid-August, excuse me. Balance of the funds, as identified in the cooperation agreement that was signed in December. The balance of the funds will be used in cooperation with Terrebonne Parish to be able to do additional non-fed levy work, should it be helping to close off the no work zones that we didn't do, something along that line. But you will have use of the funds and it will be a partnership again with the Corps to be able to use the remaining funds. And then the coordination with the parish, we send Mr. Levron weekly updates on the construction, on progress reports. We do brief the council meeting every month. We do have a tour scheduled on July 8th with President Claudet and any of his associates that you'll let me know how many are coming. Okay? And we also have started to really lock down a date of July 29th as the ribbon cutting. So you will all get formal invitations to that. Same place at the Bayou Butler, Georgie Girl Lane, I think it is, but Bayou Butler, where you were at the ribbon cutting or the groundbreaking. Tentatively at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Back up if it rains, which it won't. We'll be in here. So, any questions?
I have one light, Mr. Clayton Voisin.
Thank you very much, Ms. McCarthy, for this presentation. I've been worried to death for 1 week of sunshine, and I ain't got no trucks running right now. I understand about compaction and having to sling and pack the new location of the levee. But this afternoon, a few trucks started running this afternoon, I noticed, and with that came some cloud cover, which worries me. But you're expecting at this point 50,000 cubic yards of overrun is all?
Correct.
Okay. Did you say, did I miss when, if and when the parish can come in and do the closures on the 4 areas that remain open? Did you mention that?
Not when, no, I haven't done that yet. We haven't determined that yet because the levee has not been turned over yet. So we're hoping as of August, when the punch list is done, final closeout material, all the equipment's been demobed, then it'll be yours. We'll turn it over to you. Because we still have that seeding and turfing to do that very last week of July into August, but substantially complete will be July 31st at the latest. But, you know, should we get weather or anything like that, everybody's going to be out there. Doesn't matter who's out, whose levee it is, we're all going to be out there with those no-work zones.
Thank you very much, Ms. McCarthy. Once again, a great presentation.
Thank you.
If I may, Madam Chair, to Mr. Levron.
Sure, Mr. Levron.
Mr. Levron, at this point, are we going to wait until such time that the levee is turned over to us, or are we right now preparing to stop those gaps that will remain in the levee, sir?
Mr. Voisin, we have several activities on the way right now. First of all, as Ms. McCarthy indicated, we're continuing to press the Corps to expand their project to include the no-work zones. Unfortunately, we haven't yet got a positive response on that, so what we have done is proceeded in preparing a permit application to the Corps of Engineers so that we can go out there and complete the no-work zones in accordance with the type of construction that they have just completed. In the interim, we are prepared to flood fight those locations. We do have a plan in place and equipment and material available that on a moment's notice we can go close those areas up either with HESCO baskets and or some of our flood tubes that we have, sandbags, and of course we do have the opportunity within the footprint of the levee of hauling dirt in ourselves. So that is the overall plan until we get the project turned over to the parish.
Thank you guys very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Voisin. Thank you, Ms. McCarthy.
Thank you.
Item B, Mr. Bertrand Brooks, resident of 442 Ashland Drive, wishes to address the council relative to the home elevation program. Mr. Brooks. Item C, public, Ms. Carol Montgomery, Post Office Box 69, Dulac, Louisiana, nuisance abatement.
Thank y'all for the opportunity to make my statement.
I
My
just
name
need you to, go ahead.
Okay. My name is Carol Montgomery. My husband Gary and I bought our camp in Dulac about 4 years ago in December before Katrina and Rita hit the following year. As a retired probation officer, I have firsthand knowledge of the negative outcome to society when people are allowed to abdicate their responsibilities and suffer no consequences for violating the law. Laws such as Chapter 14, Nuisance Abatement of the Terrebonne Parish Code. This code provides for the health, safety, and general welfare of the citizens of the parish. We do not understand, Mr. Wazan, why you voted against stronger penalties and fines, which will strengthen the nuisance abatement law and help clean up our parish. A cleaner and safer parish is a benefit to all its citizens. What we request is that you, as our councilman, represent the 90% of your constituents who do abide by this law, instead of catering to the 10% who do not comply. Those 10% create health hazards and a tremendous eyesore in our community. Those areas are a haven for insect infestation and a breeding ground for rats, mice, and other vermin. These areas would never be ignored if they were in Broadmoor, Ellendale, on Highway 311, or in the areas that the Garden Club viewed during the Cleanest City competition. Why do you, Mr. Wazan, think it's acceptable to ignore them in our community, in Dulac? Those of us who respect ourselves, our neighbors, and our environment would like to and have a right to live in a clean and safe community. Those are the rights that you should be fighting for. All we're asking is that people be required to abide by the code that is in place, and if they refuse to do so, that the parish takes strong enough steps to enforce the law to ensure their property is cleaned up and maintained. And I did provide some pictures of our problem areas, not all of them, but some of them, and these are all up-to-date pictures. They were just taken. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. I have one light, ma'am. Mr. Clayton Wazan.
Yes, thank you very much. A question for the lady, for the speaker.
Ms. Montgomery, could you come back?
Ms. Montgomery, have we spoken before?
Yes.
How long ago?
We've spoken several times on the phone over, probably not since Ike, before Ike.
Before Ike, huh? It's been about 2 years. Do you have a camp in the Dulac area, or do you live there?
I live there.
Okay. Had you been here last night, I think you would have seen that we condemned some properties in the Dulac area just last evening, in fact. As far as me being opposed to any additional fines or stiffer penalties and fines, I'm certainly not opposed to that. I am totally in favor of that. I'm not sure where you got your information.
From the paper, they said that you had voted against stronger fines and penalties.
That's certainly not true. The paper certainly, once again, I don't believe they quoted me as doing that, and I certainly did not vote against stiffer fines. What I have been opposed to, though, is something that I think may be coming up this evening on the agenda that doesn't allow for people to put up fences to be able to do as they want on their property behind fences. I am opposed to that.
Well, sir, the problem with that is when we have high water and the fences go down, then all that stuff goes out into the marsh and into my yard, which it did during Ike.
Well, apparently you hadn't seen my yard after Ike either then. Thank you. That's all I have, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Montgomery. Mr. Zach Soley, MD 6835 Shrimpers. Please state your name and address for the record.
Sure. My name is Dr. Darrell Soleil. I live at 6835C Shrimpers Row down in Dulac. And so I'm Dr. Darrell Soleil, and I'm a resident of the Bayou Grand Caillou area. And for the last 15 years, I've lived in various regions of the country as I completed my medical training, and I returned last summer to begin working here at home as a cardiologist at the Cardiovascular Institute of the South. And let me just say that it's great to be back home. However, upon my return, I was really saddened to see the beauty of Grand Caillou further masked by the increased number of sunken boats, abandoned homes, abandoned cars, makeshift junkyards, and residential yards that have just been littered with remnants of hurricanes past and newly acquired debris from the latest forgotten outdoor project. Now, granted, all of the hurricanes from recent memory have only compounded the problem, but other bayou communities of Terrebonne Parish have recovered much more quickly than my own. The reasons for this delayed recovery, I'm sure there are many, but that's really beyond the scope of the primary reason that I'm here tonight. I mean, I respectfully disagree with any council members who might believe that our current parish mandates on nuisance abatement are sufficient, to not only encourage but to require residents of Terrebonne Parish to maintain their property. I mean, namely, I do agree with the increase in the amount of fines for violations, and I also believe that, covering up a trashy lot with a security fence is not the answer. I mean, this is so much more than just having appealing greenscapes and landscapes in our community. This is about the opportunity for me and my neighbors in the Dulac and Grand Caillou area to actually increase the value of our homes because the properties look nice. This is about not having to worry about the next couch float out of somebody's front yard and end up in my community drainage pumps, and having more floodwaters actually come and inundate our areas. This is about avoiding disease and pestilence from invading my community. I mean, things like dengue fever and tularemia, Yersinia pestis, rabies, West Nile virus. I mean, these are all severe infections that are known as zoonoses. In other words, they're actually carried by pests, things like rats and so forth. This is about avoiding toxins from lead, battery acid, and asbestos from abandoned cars from getting into my drinking water or in the puddles of rainwater that find their way into my front yard where my children play. There are many positive changes that have been taking place in our community. More and more homes along our bayou have been lifted, and it's really amazing to see the change that this actually brings to the beauty of the area. Through the valiant efforts of the Dulac Community Center, volunteer work crews continue to bring much needed help to our neighbors who are in most need of that help. I'm actually here representing a newly formed community action group for the bayou, for the Grand Caillou area, that really hopes to bring our citizens together to make a positive impact on the quality of life in Grand Caillou. As friends, neighbors, and residents of our community, we will work together to achieve our goals. As an organization, we look forward to partnering with the parish and our citizens to restore the natural beauty we have been blessed with in Grand Caillou. Our community desperately needs all of us to work together to make Terrebonne Parish and its bayou communities a jewel in the crown of South Louisiana, as it should be. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Kevin Voisin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, to the doctor, I'd like to give you my personal thanks for coming back to our community. This precious few people who do that much medical training and come back home to help. I certainly appreciate that. I think you touched on something that's very important, and that is that trash is not just an aesthetic thing. It's not just, oh, it looks bad. It brings disease, but more importantly to us in this community, it floods our homes, and if we are going to drown in litter if we're not careful. I would just like to say that I applaud your efforts. I'm excited to see people who are ready to get out, pick it up, and not tolerate it anymore.
Thank you. Yes.
Because I'll tell you, I jog a lot, and I've started picking up trash while I jog. If I can see a garbage can, I see a piece of paper, does it make a big difference? I don't know, but I hope so, and we need more people.
Right, it does make a difference because, I mean, I've, in cleaning up our property after the last few hurricanes and so forth, well, the most recent, I mean, as I make trips to the dump using my trailer.
Just a second, sir. Mr. Kevin, are you yielding your light?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Okay,
Yes,
go
ma'am,
ahead.
I am.
Go ahead.
But as I make trips to the dump, I mean, I actually have been picking up lots of trash as much as I can put on my trailer as well as I make trips to the dump too. So I think every little bit makes a difference, and as part of our community action group, we're hoping to continue to contribute to that and making a difference, particularly in the Bayou Grand Caillou area.
That's wonderful. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Mr.
Madam Chair.
Kevin. Mr. Claude.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to just mention this. I spoke to a bunch of children in the summer camp at the Grand Caillou Recreation Center, and they told me the very next day Dr. Soleil was going to be there to speak to them about all kinds of things and to encourage them to actually better themselves and talk about his beautification projects. He has contacted, I know, my office to try to get Grand Caillou a better place, and we certainly want to encourage those efforts. I'd like to just mention we're having town hall meetings, and if you should attend or anyone does attend, we'll see our program to try to lift as many boats as we can in the very near future, and we're working diligently to try to tear down homes that are vacant and such an eyesore. Now, that's not going to happen tomorrow, but we're at least working in that direction, and thank you for your comments.
Thank you, Mr. Claude. Mr. Tillman.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. Being the person that brought forth the legislation as it relates to the fences, and I just want the public to understand that my intention, by no means to not allow people to do whatever they want to do with their property. The intent of the legislation is that you cannot take offense and harbor all of the junk that you have. And in many cases, residents are cited, and once they're cited with junk and debris, the next thing you know, they got a fence up. And what we have on the books now basically satisfy that need. So basically my intention is to try to close that gap, because as a council person trying to foster cleaner neighborhoods is very, very difficult if you have antiquated laws on the book that have such gaps that would not allow you to do the things that you need to do in terms of trying to beautify the area. So that's the intent of the legislation, and I just want to reiterate that it's by no means to stop people from doing whatever they want to do behind their private fence or whatever else, but it's all about trying to make sure that people clean up and abide by the law, and to make sure that the law, once it applied, we can move forward with it, and that's certainly the intent of the ordinance. Thank you, Madam Chairperson.
Thank you, Mr. Tillman. Mr. Pizzolata?
6:30 move to go into public hearing.
Motion to go into public hearing, Mr. Pizzolata, second by Mr. Seahan and Mr. Kevin. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. 6:30 p.m. Public hearings relative to A, a proposed ordinance to amend the 2009 adopted budget and 5-year capital outlay to provide additional funding for the Ashland North Major Lift Station and Force Main project. First call, public. Second call, public. Third and final call, public. Motion to close, Mr. Clayton Voisin, second by Mr. Kevin. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Motion to adopt by Mr. Clayton Voisin, second by Mr. Kevin Voisin. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Item B, a proposed ordinance to amend the 2009 adopted budget and the 5-year capital outlay for the following items: Village East Force Main, $350,000. Sunset Park subdivision drainage improvements, $30,000. Upper Ward 7 levee improvements, $1,305,000. Texas Gulf Road Bridge, $100,000. First call, public. Second call, public. Third and final call, public. Motion to close, Mr. Seahan, second by Mr. Abear. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Motion to adopt, Mr. Seahan, second by Mr. Abear and Mr. Lambert. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Item C, a proposed ordinance to amend the 2009 adopted budget for the funding from FEMA to remove a boat from Bayou Grand Caillou, to authorize the parish president to execute an agreement to have the boat removed and to address other matters relative thereto. First call, public. Second call, public. Third and final call, public. Motion to close, Mr. Voisin, second by Mr. Lambert. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Motion to adopt, Mr. Voisin, second by Mr. Lambert. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Item D, a proposed ordinance authorizing the parish president to execute a cooperative endeavor agreement for the lease of hazard mitigation grant program property located at 6103 Grand Caillou Road with Kenneth and Mona Champagne. First call, public. Second call, public. Third and final call, public. Motion to close, Mr. Clayton Voisin. Second by Mr. Seahan. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Motion to adopt, Mr. Clayton Voisin. Second by Mr. Seahan. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Item E, a proposed ordinance to amend the boundaries of Recreation District Number 2-3 so as to embrace all of Police Jury Ward 2 and to establish an effective date. First call, public. Second call, public. Third and final call, public.
Motion to close.
Motion to close, Mr. Abear, second by Mr. Kevin Voisin. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes.
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt, Mr. Abear, second by Mr. Kevin Voisin. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Item F, a proposed ordinance to amend the pertinent sections of Chapter 14, nuisance abatement of the Parish Code in order to increase the nuisance violation fines and criminal enforcement for various nuisance violations shorten the time period for compliance, and disallow the use of fences, screen planting for compliance purposes. First call, public.
Curtis Neal, 105 T-Bev Street, Montague, Louisiana. I didn't come here with the intent to speak on this. Wasn't aware that it was on the agenda, and y'all gonna maybe have some action on it tonight, voting one way up or down. But I'm gonna tell you, this is another instance of Big Brother stepping in and getting involved in private property rights. I never was in favor of the grass ordinance to start with in the parish and in unincorporated parts of the parish, unzoned parts of the parish. I cut grass in a lot of neighborhoods that are zoned, and there are more trash. Village East subdivisions, Lafayette Woods subdivisions, Ashland North, Ashland South. I mean, I've been all over those properties. And it's not just people's yards. Side of the highway, garbage dump here in Grand Caille, got more garbage on the side of the highway than everybody got in their yards combined together. And it come from garbage trucks, people hauling stuff to the garbage, but no ordinance about that. Yet, you're gonna tell people what they can do behind their closed fence. Out of sight, out of mind. Next, you're gonna tell us what we can do, how we're gonna wash our dishes, and how we're gonna have to wash our clothes, and how the inside of our house gonna have to stay. It's not unreasonable. When it's very unreasonable, you're gonna tell a person who has a closed-in yard what he can have, what he's got a mechanic shop, works on cars, it's gonna look like junket to some people if there's no fence there. He's working on scrap, whatever, cutting lumber. I got a wetland plant business, and it's weeds. It looks like weeds. It's because it is. It's grass. I'll sell it. I make a living doing it. And if the public decides that they don't like what they see, I should have a right to put a fence around it, and I can paint little murals on it, and it looks nice, you know, like you see in front of ballrooms. So why would you want to stop somebody from putting a fence around? It could be a business, or it could be just stuff that he likes. Could be whatever. Could be, you know, one man's junk's another man's treasure. So y'all getting into people's private lives with this ordinance. And I'm not saying that we don't need a cleaner city. Believe me, when they got a cleaner city program, you let me drive them around. You ain't never gonna pass another one and get cleaner city in the parish or the state or anywhere. Because I worked all the back streets, villages, East Street, all over this parish, you know. We show them the facade. But get out there and cut grass in front of Rouse's supermarket, by the McDonald's, by all of the stores, and see what the people do, the trash that they throw out every day. Yet, y'all gonna come and pose on private property that they can't put a fence so that they don't upset somebody that drives along the highway, lives a few houses down. I'll say this, and I was upset when they said that about the island, people on the island. They like tall grass. Native Americans lived in woods like that all their life, but we're gonna tell them they gotta cut their grass. Can't have trash in their yard. If you don't like it, don't go look at it. If you like to live in an incorporated part of Homer or the Terrebonne Parish that's zoned, that you regulated exactly what you can do, you can't build a carport, you can't close this, fine, you live there. But don't you guys, who, most of you from City of Homer, and a lot of people who feel City of Homer want to move out into the country, but don't come down there and tell us how to live. If you don't like it, stay where you're at. Tall grass don't bother me none. I make a living selling tall grass. But when you're going to tell somebody that you can't hide your nuisance with a fence, you better look at your own backyard. You better look at what this parish government does. And I can take you to a lot of places that's just a facade that is just for public image and really junky. Go look at all the canals that haven't been cleaned. And I'm going to bring this up when I get my speaker card, time to speak after a while. But I open y'all, I should have been here before now. Y'all need to really talk to more people and really reconsider this. And I don't like a guy got a lot of junk. Pass in Montague and look at Ronald Ellender's junk. Y'all all have seen it. Y'all pass on places that have been abandoned. They got a lot of poor people that can't afford to clean their yards. They got destroyed for several storms in a row. That's on fixed income. They can't hire nobody. And you're going to tell them, well, you can't put a fence around it. You got to clean it up and manicure it, make it look like Summerfield. Well, guess what? You want to live in Summerfield, live in Summerfield. You want to live in Dulac, you live in Dulac. You want to live in Montague, live in Montague. And everybody got the option to move if you don't like it. But y'all passing rules on the rural parts of this parish, and it's going on more, and year in, year out, more and more. Y'all getting involved in people's private lives and what they do. If it's a hazard, that's another situation. If you're storing hazardous bombs, or like the doctor said, rodent, rat-infested area, they got houses, that's where it's at. than some of these yards, and I've been in some. Not my own family, I've seen some. And so what's next? You're gonna regulate that they gotta have a pest control every week, every month? Why are you gonna draw the line? Why are you guys here, and I applauded y'all for y'all good job y'all been doing. But y'all stepping into something that y'all shouldn't be stepping into?
Time, Mr. Neal.
And I hope y'all really give it some tough consideration before y'all vote on this.
I have 2 lights. Would you guys like to finish calling them? Well, I have 2 more public hearings. Second call, public. Third and final call, public. Motion to close, Mr. Kevin Voisin, second by Mr. Tillman. Mr. Tillman?
Yes, there seems to be a very serious misunderstanding about what we're trying to do here. Let's say, for example, let me see how I can put this. Where you're living now, let's say you have trash and debris in your yard, and at this point, you know, you got a fence around it, okay? That's not what this piece of legislation is talking about, okay? The intent of this is simple. If you're cited for junk and debris, be it tall grass or whatever, and you're cited today, and you go out tomorrow, and you put a fence around it, now you're telling me that, hey, it's satisfied now because I got a fence around it. That's one of the loopholes within the ordinance. We want to close that up. But I got to tell you one thing. I always have, and I'm going to continue to do whatever I can to bring forth cleaner neighborhoods, regardless of what anybody say, regardless of what the people that's baling hay are saying, because we're going to deal with that too. I've got a little something to tell you about baling hay in a little bit, okay? And you notice that Mr. Erdy just mentioned that if you want to live inside the city, live inside the city, leave the people of Dulac alone. I don't believe that the people of Dulac or anywhere else care to be around junk and debris. I don't believe that. And I think if they had a problem with this particular piece of legislation, I think this place would be full. And certainly I welcome it, okay? But now listen to what he said. If you want to live in the city of Homer, live in the city of Homer, but leave the people of Dulac alone. But you're going to come in the city of Homer and find lots to bale hay. So that means the ordinance said anything beyond 12 inches is in violation. Now, he's going to come down here and bale hay, okay? Now, he mentioned villages, for example, he mentioned that. And he said, come around and see all the trash. If you got miles of open land, common sense should tell you if the wind blow, it's going to blow trash on that open land. It's going to blow paper on that open land. And, of course, when he come in to bale his hay, his frustration is simple. I got a lot of paper out here, and I got to bale my hay. Well, hey, if the wind blow, the paper's going to go there, okay? But I can assure you this. He won't be baling hay in Village East anymore. I can tell you that much. I will be watching that close like I spy, okay? So your baling hay days over there is over, but I can grant you that. And I would assume that anybody else in the area that he's baling hay, he's going to wait till they get at least about 12 inches tall to bale it. I'm saying to you guys in this district, he mentioned your areas that he's baling hay. Make note of it and make sure he doesn't build hay there again. Okay? Now the other thing is this. He mentioned about Indians like living in tall grass. I mean, to be frank with you, I'm not a Native American, but I'm offended by him saying that. I believe that Native Americans, like anybody else, love to have clean areas. But to get up here and say that they love tall grass, they're used to it, man, that's a slap in the face. You know, that's really a slap in the face. And the other thing is that we have to learn to get beyond the status quo. Now, if you're used to living in junk and rubbish, it's time to change. We're going to get you out of that mode. We're going to certainly get you out of that mode and begin to get you to think about cleaner neighborhoods, cleaner communities, because we deserve that. And I got to tell you, people, I mean, I've been here as a councilman, this is my 3rd term, and it's been a constant challenge for me getting neighborhoods clean. Constant challenge, but I'm not going to give up. Whether I'm here as a council member or whether I'm out there as a citizen, I'm still going to be vigilant to do that because we deserve that as a community. But I just want to iterate one more time about this legislation as it relates to fences. It's not to stop you from doing what you want to do at your home. But I can assure you this, even if you have junk and debris that you have a fence around, and people have rodents that coming back and forth to their house, there's something within the ordinance to cover that too. So don't think for a moment that you can go there and pile all that stuff up behind your house and then thinking that you can get away with it because you're going to put a fence up. We're going to stop that nonsense. You know, because like I said, if people don't want cleaner neighborhoods, they would be up here saying, I don't want to clean my neighborhood. I want junk and debris. I love that. Let's let me stay in junk and debris. People don't want that, Mr. Erdis, so you stop that kind of stuff. But the legislation is a good piece of legislation, and I'm looking forward tonight to this thing being passed, being sent over to the nuisance abatement department so we can go out there, Ms. Henderson, and do our jobs. Okay, we're gonna keep riding around just writing folks up that's trying to break the law and make our community look like junkyard because we deserve better. And then when we finish with this thing, we're gonna take it and just put home all over the map. Just let folks click the cleanest city, just click it out. And we're talking about in the city and down the bayous. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you, Madam Chairperson.
Thank you, Mr. Tillman. Mr. Kevin Voisin?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to be clear that this, first, the two real issues that I want to take is one recurring theme that sometimes comes here to these meetings is this city of Houma and other Terrebonne, and I just don't think that way. I don't believe that. Maybe there was a time it was that way. Maybe that's the historical realities of Terrebonne, but today, I don't believe that's the way it is. We're either going to stand all together or we're going to fall all together. And to say, well, give me laws one way this place. Now, I understand zoning, and zoning is a little different because you're trying to manage buildings that are much closer together. But as far as nuisance abatement, we're all one community. The people of this parish have spoken that we are a consolidated government because we believe that we should be governed all together. Now, whether anyone agrees with that or not, that's the mandate of the people, and that's what we fulfill. And we've got to start thinking as a Terrebonne parish. This thought that there's Bayou and there's Upper Terrebonne is exactly the reason we don't have cypress forests, is exactly the reason we don't have barrier islands, is exactly the reason we haven't really managed the problem of the Houma Navigation Canal, because when you divide, then you're conquered. And if we can stand together as a community, we can really start to make progress. I'm excited to be a part of this council because I think we do stand together. We are moving forward. Nuisance abatement is not just for the people, not just for people at your house. Okay, I have personally, many of the council people here on this council and many councilmen in the past have turned in public facilities. The most recent one to come to mind is a pump station in the Summerfield neighborhood that I actually tried to figure out what resident owned it, and when I found out it was us, it went through nuisance abatement. It'll either be fixed or the parish will be fined. This is not just for individuals. When we talk about not only that, we've also cited the state and had the state cited for nuisance abatement for not cutting the grass properly in their right of ways. This is all things that not only have happened, do continually happen. When we talk about freedom, I am a big believer. I agree 100% with Mr. Curtis Neal. We should have as many freedoms as are humanly possible. All right, we should be able to do what we want on our own property, right up until that freedom steps on somebody else's freedom. And when you're talking about things like dengue fever, and you're talking about things like all of these different things that these vermin carry, okay, rats, snakes, mice, they don't respect fences. Come on, let's be honest. And when your rat problem crosses into my yard, then your freedom has overstepped its bounds. And really, that's what this is all about, in my opinion. This is about limiting one man's freedom to make my land a problem, to make my land have a problem. And I don't want to limit anybody's freedom, but these things are long overdue. I think we are making the right steps. To reiterate what Mr. Tillman said, we are eliminating the fence as a remedy to the problem, not eliminating, the fence. We're saying that you can't just put a fence around it and that fixes it, because if you're already harboring rodents, the rodent will not respect the fence, okay? And thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Pizzolata?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through the chair to Mr. Gordon, I want to ask him a question.
Mr. Gordon?
Pat Gordon, Director of Planning and Zoning. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Gordon, we had talked about the abandoned buildings that weren't derelict. They were just boarded up, have been empty for 3 to 4 or 5 years.
Yes.
Have we done any research on that?
We're working on that. We were trying to get this section of the nuisance abatement ordinance through, and we're going to have a recommendation for the council, hopefully at the next meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. There's been a motion and a second to close the public hearings. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Motion to adopt, Mr. Tillman, second by Mr. Kevin Voisin. Seeing no lights, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Item G, a proposed ordinance that will authorize the acquisition of sites and/or servitudes required for the Upper Ward 7 levy, Reach 2B, that will authorize the parish president to execute any and all documents necessary with respect to said servitudes, and that will authorize the legal staff to commence expropriation proceedings in the event the sites and/or servitudes cannot be obtained conventionally. First call, public. Second call, public. Third and final call, public. Motion to close, Mr. Sehan, second by Mr. Abear and Mr. Voisin. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Motion to adopt, Mr. Sehan, second by Mr. Abear. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Item H, a proposed ordinance to authorize and grant a permanent servitude along Bayou du Large Road in the vicinity of and across Falgout Canal to the Consolidated Waterworks District Number 1. First call, public. Second call, public. Third and final call, public. Motion to close, Mr. Clayton Voisin, second by Mr. Sehan. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Motion to adopt, Mr. Clayton Voisin, second by Mr. Sehan. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. A proposed ordinance that will reduce the speed limit along Bon Jovi Boulevard to 15 miles per hour. First call, public. Second call, public. Third and final call, public. Motion to close, Mr. Kevin Voisin, second by Mr. Tillman. Seeing no lights, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Motion to adopt, Mr. Kevin Voisin, second by Mr. Tillman. Seeing no lights, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Motion to go back into regular order, Mr. Pizzolata, second by Mr. Sehan. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 2, public. Mr. Curtis Neal, 105 T-Bebb Street, Montague, Louisiana, Parish Drainage Canals and Levees.
Curtis Neal, 105 T-Bab Street, Montague. And I know you're gonna hit your gravel when I say this, but Mr. Tillman, I'll be building some here by Village East in about 2 days, and you can come watch me. I will. Because the owner cuts 30 feet wide, which is the law. And we're gonna discuss this at another date, other than this meeting, but it needs to be discussed some more. Don't mandate to me what I can do on private property. Just what you did with this law, you just did it.
Mr. Neal, you filled out parish
The drainage problems we having right now, that because y'all dissatisfied with one statement I make, y'all might not want to approve or disagree with this, but this is a situation going on. And Kevin, I was down there picking up all that junk, by the way, in Montague last week, yeah, on that junk. They've been there for 2 years. The fish are dead in the midfield pump station because the ditch is empty. It was pumped dry when y'all had this rain event a month or so ago that everybody got scared to death that it was gonna rain. And they put their pumps on and they pumped a whole lot of water out. Each one of you guys might not have a doggone thing to do with it, but I would think y'all should, because all of these pump stations in the parish are permitted by the Corps of Engineers, and the Corps of Engineers is investigating it right now as we speak to know what the rules and guidelines are. And each one of you guys up here should already know that, but I know y'all don't because I've asked a few and they don't know. I've asked people with the Corps and they don't know. But I got a copy of the Corps permit on every pump station in Terrebonne Parish, and it said we're gonna maintain a minus 2.5, or we're gonna maintain a minus 2, or we're gonna maintain a minus 3 on certain specific pump station with different elevation requirements. And when we're gonna jump the gun, because it's like the weather. We can't stand the heat and we can't stand the cold. Well, we can't stand the water and we can't stand the drought, but we can control the water. This man can control that. We can't control the weather. But when we're gonna overpump a canal, we can put water back in by any means necessary. If the pumps can't do it and siphon water back, which we just did with the Aragon Montague pump station, and I called a month or so ago about it, nothing did. Mr. Michel finally got involved, and he had Public Works and we backflow some water back in the canal. because the animals in the canal, you know, you don't want to get involved with environmentalists, but I'm going to tell you what, you can't blame them when you see what I saw in the last few days of the amount of dead fish. All the turtles are gone, the frogs are gone, the alligators are gone, and they got thousands of dead fish. Not a few. Every fish that was in that canal is dead. There's not one live species of anything living in a 3 or 4 mile area because somebody's not doing their job. And not necessarily that it's you council members' jobs, but it's definitely somebody's job. I hadn't been to Dulac in a couple of weeks. I've been busy with my hair, cutting hair back at Village East and other places, and picking up trash all over different places, behind subdivisions, between lots, make it look a little better. Grocery buggers don't fly in the wind. But I'm going to tell you, those fish that died are man-made problems. We have other man-made problems on our levees about spraying. We talked about this at this last Ward 7 meeting we had, public town hall meeting about spraying. Believe me, guys, the Ward 7 levee, I don't care what anybody said, they still got a little bit of green. The Grand Collier levee, Ashland North, you just spoke about a while ago, about improving that pump station. Well, the grass was sprayed and it was killed, and the Bermuda grass, very little of it came back. What's coming back right now is crabgrass, and it's green. You can see some blotches of green grass on the overkilled levee, which makes it look green from the highway. But when you get down and look at it and walk on it, you see the Bermuda grass is still dead. And it's also now for storm protection. So and I asked this year to have a meeting about this, and I don't know if it ever happened yet, but y'all gonna take over this $30 million levee in Dulac when it gets handed over to you guys? Don't let them go spray the doggone grass on that. We're gonna spend $200,000 planting grass on it, and we're gonna go back and kill it a month later. We did it in Ward 7. We did it in Ponishan, and Senator Dupre already told y'all the same thing. The Tidewater levee is perfect and green, and they mow it. And then when they connect back to the parish levee, it's brown dead. And it's supposed to be a Bermuda release program, but I've been fooling with chemicals all my life, spraying farms, spraying fence line. They got chemicals that'll kill everything. They got chemicals I can spray in my field, and I can show y'all some pictures how green the Bermuda grass gets when you spray the right chemical. It just green is fertilizer. 2,4-D is a fertilizer for smooth leaf plants. It kills all your broadleaf plants, kills all your weeds that you don't want. But somebody authorized by this parish government is spraying a chemical that's killing everything, and it needs to stop, particularly in the situation where with these storms. Our levees are no longer drainage levees. Our levees are storm protection levees. That's all we got. And we're spending millions of dollars on these interim levees, and one of the major components is...
Neil, your time is up. How long? Motion to extend 1 minute, Mr. Lambert, second by Mr. Kevin Voisin. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Go ahead.
One of the major components of being able to maintain our levees, not continually hauling dirt on these sinking levees, is to maintain the grass and maintain the water within this drainage system so that you don't have more pressure on the backside than you have on the inside. When the system is bone dry, and God knows how long it's been bone dry, well, somebody's just not taking care of business. When the levee is sprayed in a maintenance effort to maintain it, and everything is dead, and here we are in storm season, for the last 2 hurricanes that we flooded in Ward 7, the grass being not there is what caused a lot of breaks in that levee. Just washes through when you're going through bad dirt. When they got roots and grass, it don't do it. It depends on how much force. But generally, it protects your land. The hydraulics in the levee right now is 5 feet below sea level. That shouldn't be happening. We should put water back in those drainage canals and stop the spraying. And we're going to argue this point another day. Y'all passed a lot tonight. I'm very disappointed. As a farmer, y'all need to take that interest in mind as well, because we produce a lot for this parish.
Thank you, Mr. Neal. Mr. Pizzolata?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Direction to Mr. Leveron.
Mr. Leveron?
Could you get the people that's got this spraying contract for our levees to come here and give us a report on exactly what they're spraying, what chemicals they're using, how much they're using? I have seen some of the pictures that Mr. Neal talks about, but I did not go out and raise the grass up to see if it's green underneath. At our next Public Works.
If the council so requests it, we'll have them here.
Well, I'm requesting it, and I'd certainly like to have them come in here. And Mr. Neal, you and I got to talk, so I know what you're talking about. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Kevin Voisin?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just reiterate my colleague's notion that if there's something Mr. Curtis Neal knows, it's grass for sure. I mean, he's taught me a lot, and I think he's got a real valid point. I mean, there's a reason God put grass on the ground, especially on hills, and we definitely should follow up on this. And it is important that we keep in mind that too low can be as bad as too high. I would like, I'm not sure, to be honest with you, who would be the person, but I'd also like a report, if we could, talking about, are we maintaining proper levels? We don't need the whole parish, because that would take hours of a meeting. It would be interesting, though, to see if we can get a report of, I mean, are we actually keeping up with the levels that we committed to on different pump stations? I mean, I think that's an important point, because not enough water can cause collapsing and just as many problems as too much water. I won't ask for that in a committee meeting right now, because I don't know which one to put it in, but we'll talk after this meeting and get it added if we could. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Kevin Wazan. Mr. Clayton Wazan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And just to let the speaker know, I got a call earlier today from Mr. Lambert. I think you had spoke to him, Mr. Neal, earlier, and I also got a call from Mr. Neal. It was approximately 4:15 before I was able to go down and look at the Mayfield levee and ditch. And I have to say that Mr. Neal is correct in his assessment that those borrow canals are dry, and they're not going to serve their purpose, I don't think, with the deterioration of the levees, especially if they're continued to be sprayed and the grass killed on them, and all we got is a line of dirt. If you all recall a little bit earlier, Ms. McCarthy with the Corps of Engineers spoke earlier this evening about building levees, and just as soon as they could, the northern part of the levee, the Suzy Canal portion of the levee that has just been completed, we've just seeded and planted grass there, and it's coming up. It's beautiful. Those levees are really beautiful right now, and for us as a parish to turn around and pay somebody to go and spray it and kill it just behooves me. Instead of I can recall when we used to go cut our levees and take care of our grass, and the root system would help hold our levees in place. Madam Chair, if I may, direct a question to the parish manager.
Mr. Levron.
Mr. Levron, have you or I tried calling, but they were going for the day already. I'd called for Mr. Blanchard earlier after I went and looked at what Mr. Neal and Mr. Lambert had told me about in the Mayfield area. Could you maybe in the morning get Perry or someone with drainage, maybe Carl or somebody, to go out and take a look at that and see if there's some sufficient way, or if maybe you guys think that that's the way it's supposed to be. I don't know. But if that's the case, please let me know. And if it's not, maybe what the solution is.
We can have that done, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Levron. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Voisin. Mr. Lambert.
Yes, ma'am. Question to Mr. Levron, please.
Mr. Levron.
Al, when the decision was made to spray these levees, one of the reasons why it was made was because a lot of these levees are, it's almost impossible to cut them with a tractor. Is that correct? They had a steep incline and very, very difficult, correct?
Mr. Lambert, there were actually two reasons that went into that. First was access issues, and quite frankly, last administration had a concern about the staffing levels and chose to reduce our staffing in that particular area and sought to outsource that service to vegetation control contractors. So those were the two issues that came into play.
Yeah. What I'm getting at is, as just like we're building this new section of levee in Grand Kaya, this has the proper berm, the proper slope, and everything. The Ward 7 levee's got the Ward 7 levee. You couldn't cut it with a tractor before on the old Ward 7 levee, but now the new Ward 7 levees has the proper berm, the proper slope. The Pointe-aux-Champs levee has the proper berm, the proper slope. The Montague levee is still a steep levee, but all the levees that are being rebuilt, could we look into possibly, instead of spraying those, going back to mowing those that have the proper grade, the berm and the
Ms.
thing?
Lambert, the answer is yes, and actually, we are currently in the re-advertisement of the contract for vegetation control. So it is possible that an alternative proposal can be issued to compare, quite frankly, the pricing of from chemical control versus tractor cutting. So we can get that done.
Yeah, because I think with all the improvements we've made in there, that if we can begin cutting the grass again with the tractors on these new and improved levees, I think that would be a big plus, and leave the ones that are impossible to cut, to the spraying process. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lambert. Mr. Claude?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just for information, Curtis called me this afternoon, sometimes probably 3:30, 4 o'clock. At that time, I contacted Perry Blanchard, and it is my understanding they've already spoken about the problem that's over there. Again, we'd like for Mr. Leveron, I know, will follow up in the morning to see what is the result and see what, in fact, can be done in that particular area. Thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Thank you, Mr. Claude. Mr. Voisin?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just briefly, I hear my colleague, Mr. Lambert, talk about how some levees are too steep and that we can't cut grass. I'm going to ask a question to Mr. Leveron, and hopefully he can answer it. Something I haven't seen in a long time in my district is tractors that belong to Terrebonne Parish that go up and down the road and cut ditches. They have what's called a boom or a side cutter, and you can lower this and control the angle of the mower and be able to cut these levees. There is no reason that we can't cut these levees. It may be that we don't have the equipment anymore. It may be that we need to get the equipment. But if we're going to build levees and just turn them into dirt ridges and let rain and saltwater intrusion and everything else just rip that water apart, I'm telling you, we're spinning our wheels. Mr. Leveron and I have spoke, I think, on many occasions about the fact of the root system, a root system on the levee to be able to maintain it. And unless he's changed his mind, I think he still agrees with me that that is something that's necessary. If I may ask the parish manager a question, Madam Chair.
Sure, go ahead.
Mr. Leveron, do we still have equipment for cutting grass? Or is this parish out of it?
We do still have some, sir, but several years ago, because we got out of the business in the most part, we in fact transferred some of the equipment to other areas and surplus some of it. So yeah, if we get back, and we're gonna have to recapitalize the entire fleet of tractor to get back and doing that, and in addition, staffing. Or here again, we can look at the alternative of specific contracting for that purpose.
Well, I got called out this evening on the fact about trash and debris throughout the parish on parish right-of-ways along Shrimpers Row, an area that was discussed this evening here. I mean, the parish is not doing their job. We are not doing our job as far as maintaining our right-of-ways. The state, God knows, they don't do it outside the city of Houma. And within the city of Houma, I think it was pointed out by one of my colleagues earlier that we've had to find the state on some occasions to be able to get them to do their job. It behooves me to build levees, and we're talking about spending in some time near billions of dollars to build levee systems and everything else. We're talking about the Morganza, and I mean, what are we going to do when we got Morganza? Are we going to spray it with some kind of herbicide and kill it and just let it become a dirt ridge? Our ridges that has protected this parish, the 5 fingers that go out in Terrebonne Parish, all of them, if you go look, have been that were oak trees, grass, and everything else that grew on these ridges, and that's what held them together. That's how come we still have ridges. A little bit of ridges left is because of that. I mean, why are we building levees if we're just going to turn them into dirt ridges and let the water wash them away. If you could look into that, sir, see what we have left and what's available and what it would take maybe for us to maybe be able to maintain these levees in the future. But for God's sake, if we don't do nothing else, let's quit turning hundreds of thousands of dollars of Bermuda grass that we're planting right now on levees to go and kill them, at the end of the month. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Voisin. Mr. Seahan?
Thank you, ma'am. To Mr. Lebron, please.
Mr. Lebron?
Mr. Lebron, you said the last administration was the ones that made the recommendation to spray these levees. Can you tell me how many years this has been
yes,
going
sir.
on?
Early in, I believe it was probably 2003, 2004, there was a reduction in staff considerably. And I believe we, in the Road and Bridge Department, Vegetation Department, there was some 25 to 30 employees that were cut, and that service was, for the most part, curtailed. We'd still do some grass cutting. Some roadside work is done with parish forces. However, the lion's share of our vegetation work is handled through contractors.
Through contractors. So we've been spraying levees since
I
around
believe the
2004.
chemical control program on levees really got going in the 2004 time period.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Seahan. Mr. Tillman?
Thank you, Madam Chairperson, and certainly you guys know how I feel about spraying herbicide all over the place. It just no way to do it. When we talk about levees, I think sometimes take a ride out to on the river in Vacherie. I mean, man, you got levees so high, and those guys are cutting that stuff. I mean, it's beautiful. I mean, it's almost like somebody manicuring their lawn. And they're not doing it with contractors. They're actually doing it with the forces that they have there. I said back then that to contract all this stuff out would certainly be a problem. There's no doubt about it. When our guys was doing it, maintaining the grass, it was done better. It was done better. There's no doubt about that. I don't think you'll find anybody out there that'll tell you that it wasn't better. Okay, I'm asking the administration to look into it and perhaps get some crews back here. Enlarge these crews that we have and get them back at it because they knew what to do. They was doing it better, and they wasn't in competition because. And what I mean by that is simple. You hire these contractors, and if by chance they're doing some work somewhere else, the manpower here is slacking. But here, when we had our guys here, we controlled that. I mean, if there was a specific area we needed to target on, we could have a crew of people say, look, I need you guys to go out there and do this. I need you guys to go out there and do that. Now you just don't have that. They have a map, a road map. They have certain areas that they're going to cut, and that's it. And that's what they're going to focus on. And I certainly understand that. But we need to think seriously about doing some of this stuff, increasing our in-house personnel as it relates to our grass cutting, because I got to tell you, when we were doing it better. Thank you, Madam Chairperson.
Thank you, Mr. Tillman. Seeing no other lights on, I'm sorry, Mr. Claudet.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a brief comment. Just recently, we've entered into intergovernmental agreements with various parks. The primary reason for that is the grass cutting is outsourced, but these same grass cutters would do maintenance for the parks at times, which were minor maintenance. Now, as a result of no longer the grass cutters, the maintenance on the facilities themselves have gotten to be more and more of a problem, and thankfully the recreation districts have agreed to accept those facilities and work with them under their recreation programs. I just wanted to mention that not only we were talking about grass cutting, but it was a number of other things. But again, certainly it was a financial decision, and that's going to be the primary, I think, focus on the decision that'll be made given the current economic climate. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I call the next speaker, I forgot to mention earlier that there are some members from the Leadership Terrebonne class here tonight, so we hope that you're enjoying and taking note of what's going on in here. Mr. Reggie Berg, 4632A Country Drive, Berg, Louisiana, CDBG funds and public comments.
Reggie Berg, 4632A Country Drive, Berg, Louisiana. This is a continuation of my protest and the way the preliminary priority project list was assembled and public participation with that. despite your comments at the last meeting and pretty much grilled and brawled me, I stand behind my comments. I stand behind my presentation. I stand behind the comment, my public comment that I made in regards to your plan. The question still remains is, where is and what is the Palm Avenue, Intracoastal Palm Avenue project? I submitted a public records request to get some more specific information on that, and I received some information, but yet it doesn't show where that specific part of the plan is, especially for $230,000. I have a plan that's presented for approximately $1.5 million. Now, but again, where is it? You see, how can you have made that decision and presented it to the public in those meetings unless there was something to see? There was a plan on paper, what it is, where it is. That goes on with the Summerfield pump station, and be the Beroid pump station by La Corp for like $4.4 million. You see, those four, and I was directed to the engineering department and had four big files. And there was information in regards to those projects, but yet again, nothing that was in the preliminary project list. See, nothing that would show you specifically saying, okay, well, and maybe not even specifically, in general. A map, what are the borders, what effect does that project have on that community? Then earlier, we heard these people talking about, in a sense, blighted property. Places that need to be cleaned up, low income. Well, CDBG funding. What part of your proposal addresses that specifically for Grand Cayenne? You know, and then I don't speak for Grand Cayenne. I speak from Pointe-aux-Chenes all the way to Dularge. All those rural communities that were severely impacted, and yes, have low to moderate income citizens, the public. See? Time goes by very fast. I'm looking at a disaster recovery initiative, U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, and the page has got a lot of information on it. Basically, this is from the state, kind of directing how HUD funds in disaster recovery are going to be used and directed. And you know, the citizen participation requirements for local governments participating in the LCDBG program. Okay. All units of local government which receive CDBG funds must have a written and adopted citizen participation plan. Citizen participation plan. I didn't see one. It goes on to say provides and encourages citizen participation with particular emphasis on participation by persons of low to moderate income who are residents of slum and blighted areas. Provides citizens with reasonable and timely access to local meetings. The local meeting where you all passed the plan goes to the April 27th public comments in council chambers and the May 11th community development meeting. Okay, in council chambers. Okay, those were the committee meetings on the Monday nights. From the beginning to the time that the CDBG resolution was passed was 4 hours and 30 minutes. 4 hours and 30 minutes. And I'm disabled. I got back trouble. So for me to participate, and really I didn't know that was going to happen, I'd have had to sit down in that chair for 4 hours and 30 minutes before even having a chance to talk on it. But what you didn't do, and you see, even after the fact, I could look at the meeting on tape and have commented on it after, but you didn't present. You didn't make a presentation of those projects. So even after the fact, if I go and rent the tape, and not rent the tape, but go do a public records request and look at the tape, and I did. You didn't make a presentation.
Your time is up, Mr. Byrd. Just to answer your question about the Bayroy pump station, 'cause that happens to be in my district and in Mr. Tillman's district. I think it goes back to 2004, Mr. Leveron. If you would read the Bayou LaCarpe drainage project, that $4.4 million is spelled out and is also spelled out to the areas that it does help. And that area meets the socioeconomic requirements of the CDBG program. Thank you. Item 3, committee reports. A, Public Services Committee, Mr. Seahan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that we accept and ratify the minutes of the June 22nd, 2009 meeting, and I have one public hearing.
Motion to accept and ratify the minutes of the June 22nd Public Service Committee meeting by Mr. Seahan, second by Mr. Abear. Go ahead with your public hearing.
Call a public hearing on U.S. Oil and Gas Incorporated's request for a permit to drill a saltwater disposal well and to dispose of salt water on August 12th, 2009 at 6:30 p.m.
There's
That's
been
it.
a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item B, Community Development and Planning Committee, 62209, Mr. Tillman.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. I move for acceptance and ratification.
Move for the acceptance and ratification of the minutes of the Community Development and Planning Committee by Mr. Tillman, second by Mr. Pizzolata. You
I
have
have
any
two public hearings.
Go ahead with your public.
An ordinance to amend the parish code with respect to the notification process for applications submitted to the Homeless Board of Zoning Adjustment and calling public hearing on said matter on July 8, 2009 at 6:30 p.m. An ordinance to dedicate and accept the maintenance operation of streets, drainage, servitudes, and right-of-ways for Julie Oak Subdivision Phase 3 and incorporate Sedgewood Drive and extension of Marissa Beth Drive and Katie Rose Drive into the enhanced 911 emergency response system and calling public hearing on said matter on July 8, 2009 at 6:30 p.m. That's all I have, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Tillman. There's been a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item C, Budget and Finance Committee, Mr. Abear.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move that we accept and ratify the Budget and Finance Committee meeting of June 22nd, 2009, and I have two public hearings.
Motion to accept and ratify the minutes of the Budget and Finance Committee by Mr. Abear, second by Mr. Lambert and Mr. Kevin. Go ahead with your public hearings.
An ordinance to amend the 2009 adopted budget and five-year capital outlay for the Economic Development Administration grant for the Dixon Road wastewater line extension and calling a public hearing on said matter on July 8th, 2009 at 6:30 p.m. Second is an ordinance to declare vehicles, computers, and other miscellaneous equipment from various departments as surplus and authorizing said items to be disposed of by any legally approved method and calling a public hearing on said matter on July 8th, 2009 at 6:30 p.m. That's it, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Abear. There's a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item D, Policy, Procedure, and Legal Committee, Mr. Clayton Wazan.
I would move to accept and ratify the minutes of the Policy and Procedure Legal Committee dated 6/22/09. I have one public hearing, ma'am.
There's a motion and a second on the floor to accept and ratify the minutes of the Policy, Procedure, and Legal Committee. Go ahead with your public.
Thank you, ma'am. An ordinance to establish the Fire Protection District Number 8 Board as an autonomous governing authority for said district and call a public hearing on said matter on July 8, 2009 at 6:30 p.m., Madam Chair.
Thank you. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 4, appointments to various boards, committees, and commissions. A, appointments. Number 1, Recreation District 9 Board, term of Mr. Wendell Keller expired on 6/8/09. Mr. Clayton Wazan.
To Mr. Labat, if I may, Madam Chair.
Mr. Labat.
Mr. Labat, have we heard from Mr. Keller?
No, sir, we haven't heard from anyone on that.
Motion to hold for 2 weeks, ma'am. If we could, Mr. Labat, maybe, please. Thank you.
Motion to hold for 2 weeks by Mr. Clayton Wazan, second by Mr. Tillman. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 2, South Central Louisiana Human Services Authority, 1 vacancy due to the resignation of Mr. Doug Holloway. Mr. Kevin Voisin.
Motion to hold for 2 weeks, man.
Motion to hold for 2 weeks by Mr. Kevin Voisin, second by Mr. Seahan. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 5, announcements. Council members. Mr. Lambert.
Yes, ma'am. At Monday night's meeting, we had a presentation about the new flood maps, and it's obvious that they have a lot of the Corps of Engineers is trying to push something on us that's going to have serious consequences further down the line. And I'd like to mention that the public, any information that we get, like we received a couple letters about from citizens, that we make this a permanent part of the reading file, and we'll accept anything from the public about the discussions on the elevation maps that the Corps is trying to push down our throats. And we're going to really need some help on this from the public, from everybody, because this is going to have serious consequences down the line. So any help from the public to fight the Corps engineers on this, will need the help. Thank you.
You talking about FEMA or the Corps?
The FEMA
Okay.
flood maps. I'm sorry.
Mr. Abear.
Yes, I'd like to make comments, please. At the last meeting, we had asked to set up a Jerry Gotro benefit account, which I'd like to announce tonight that has been set up. We set it up as a non-profit, had to get a federal ID number. I will have the checking account. There will be 2 signatures required on the account. I will hold the account in account FUD, and it will only be reimbursements to the Gotro family for medical expenses. So I just want to announce that. And the bank is Synergy Bank. So if anyone wishing to donate to Jerry, the account is titled the Jerry Gotro Benefit Account, and it's at Synergy Bank. Synergy Bank. Yeah, any of the branches will accept any donations. I appreciate that. The other announcement is I had the opportunity, I guess, to get involved in my district in Broadmoor. We're cleaning some of the lateral ditches, and I like to announce tonight the problems that I encountered where we have servitudes for drainage where we can get our equipment in to clean ditches. And I got a call from the drainage department to come out and take a look at it, and it seems as though the residents have built fences, gardens, swimming ponds. I mean, all on our right of ways. And I asked for the administration to look into this matter and send letters that we can ask the residents to please try to remove any of their belongings on our right-of-ways to get equipment in there. It really concerns me that this goes on. We have people that are flooding, especially in Broadmoor and Bayou Cane, and the right-of-ways are blocked. And I'm going to tell you, our drainage department is fantastic. Very courteous people. The operator was great. He said, Mr. Abear, I'm not going to dishonor any of the people's requests and harm any of their personal items. And I really appreciate the courtesy on the part of the drainage department. But here again, I've got to ask the residents to look where they have drainage ditches. If there are any servitudes on their properties, that they have to adhere to this so we can get our equipment in there to clean these ditches. And I'm gonna tell you, our people are not gonna cause any commotion. You know, they're just gonna pick up and leave. And as a result, these ditches aren't going to get cleaned. And hopefully I think the administration is going to write letter. I went and I got addresses of all the houses concerned. It's about 20 residents, and they're blocking a 30-foot right-of-way where we can't get our equipment in there. So I ask people to please pay attention to these servitudes and take any of your belongings off so we can get equipment in there. The second item of concern, and I've gotten several phone calls, and I don't know if we have any ordinance that covers this, but it seems like we're having problems with, and I'm sure this has been going on forever, concrete dump trucks. I mean the trucks dumping concrete on the side of the roads after they finish pouring. Evidently, there's concrete in the trucks, and they're dumping it on private property. Anyway, I'm sure Mr. Neal has bought many blades and lawnmowers as a result of hitting these piles of concrete. But to take, for instance, during the March flood, at the end of Lisa Park, the people flooded, and through our people cleaning out the lateral ditches, we found piles of concrete that were blocking the drainage ditches. And as a result of these cement trucks at the end of their pouring, going into our ditches and just dumping concrete. I mean, this has got to stop, ladies and gentlemen. We can't continue to have this. And I'd like to place this in the proper committee, if it would be Paul, to see if we have anything that can cover this, levy of any funds, because this process has got to quit. I don't know the procedures of the concrete trucks, why they have to empty immediately after they finish pouring, but I'm gonna tell you, this process has got to stop. It's causing us problems drainage. It's causing us problems later on for the public to have to come in and remove concrete. I mean, I'm not talking small piles of concrete, 2 or 3 yards of concrete. Once that sets, you almost have to get in there and break it up to move it. It just cannot be moved, and it's pretty expensive to do. And I'd like to place that in the proper committee if need be, Paul, so that we can look at it and see if anything is covered. Other than that, I said my piece. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Abear. Mr. President.
Mr. Abear, a couple of things just to mention to you. One, the concrete we want to address. What's even worse is when they wash out their trucks and they put it in the catch basins, because it really does do some damage at that time. And we've caught people after the fact that have done that. Additionally, we have already begun procedures to send the notices and give the people 60 days to move. Now, quite honestly, we discussed, and I know you would like to get it sooner, but we realize some of the residents may have some difficulty in moving those structures, and we agreed to 60 days. A few announcements. Senator Vitter will be in this same room at 4 o'clock on Friday. Anybody, for a town hall meeting, if anybody should want to speak to him. As most of us probably know, we did get awarded $16 million of HMGP funds, which we have 500 structures, it's my understanding, on the potential elevation list. Now, that won't go through the whole part, and some of the people have already elevated, but we hopefully will be able to do some of those, as well as use those funds to harden the windows in this building. One thing that's very important is right now our load for electricity, because of the heat, has gone up to as much as 77 megs. And they're actually indicating to us through news release that it could cause rolling blackouts, as they do sometimes, to reduce it. So everyone is requested to please conserve as much as possible. In addition to that, Governor Jindal will be in Houma on July 15th, and he will be here, and they'll also be speaking with Senator Dupre, who is retiring now, and they want to present some awards to him of the fine work he's done. That's an SCIA meeting. Additionally, they mentioned to you the July 29th date appears to be the ribbon cutting for the levee on Dulac. And in addition to that, for council members, if anyone would be interested, it does appear that we're going to be riding that levee on July 8th. Finally, I think I mentioned to you, but we have projects that I have listed that total about $24 million that are either already we received the bids or we're going to receive them in the very near future, but most of them will be within probably the next 45 days. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Claude. Item 6, staff reports, information list, no action necessary. Item B, recommendation by the parish president to appoint Mr. Al Leveron as custodian of public records. Moved by Mr.
Unanimous second.
Voisin, unanimous second called for. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Item C, Mr. President.
Item I forgot. We'll be doing town meetings starting on Monday. The first will be in Chauvin, the second will be in Montague, and they have the listings around. Anybody who would like to attend, we certainly would like for them to attend. They will be talking about elevations, removal of derelict vessels, certain projects we have for levees, and a general thing for the parish. We also be available to answer questions for whomever may want to attend. The schedules are on the parish website, and anybody can look. It'll be 8 town hall meetings. Thank you.
Thank you.